Hello, I'm Nigel Dudley. I'm talking today from the International Union for Conservation of Nature, and what I'm doing is providing a little overview of some of the expectations about protected areas worldwide, how they might impact AONBs, some of the changes that are taking place on the global scene which are going to affect the UK government, and then some of the things that AONBs might do to respond. 5 years ago, IUCN reviewed all the protected area categories in the UK, and because the definition of a protected area gives primacy to nature conservation, particularly in the event of conflict, AONBs kind of scraped through, and they scraped through because at that time managers were very, very keen to be protected areas, not to be anything else, and because we trusted the Howard and the National Association. So they kind of got the designation of protected areas, very keen to do that. They had to deliver on that, and that's quite difficult in that most AONBs and most national parks in the UK were not set up primarily with a biodiversity aim. So that's part of the challenge. Lots of things happening internationally which are going to affect that. The Convention on Biological Diversity has some new targets which are quite ambitious, likely to be quite ambitious in terms of biodiversity. The 18 Latin American and Caribbean countries did a joint declaration on the importance of protected areas for climate change mitigation and adaptation. Really unique grouping. Very difficult to get that many countries to agree. And that's something that I think AONBs could build on. It's the kind of thing we could do in the UK. The UN Convention to Combat Desertification, which sounds like way outside, are areas of interest, but they have a land degradation neutrality target, which is part of the Sustainable Development Goals, something that the UK will have to be part of. It's not just about deserts. All things that the AONBs can feed into, can build up on. So at the same time, one of the things that came out of the last set of targets was a new kind of designation, protected areas or other effective area-based conservation measures, and called OECMs. It's a horrible name, but OECMs finally got defined at the end of last year and agreed by governments at the meeting of the Convention on Biological Diversity. They're like a lesser sort of protection, but still important. Governments will start reporting on those. One of the things that I think AONBs need to be very aware of is that they're almost these new OECMs rather than protected areas, if you look at their aims. And one of the reasons why people like Howard are so keen on upping the nature conservation value of AONBs, quite apart from the fact we need to do it anyway, is that there's a political danger of AONBs slipping into being regarded as these new other effective area-based conservation measures. If that happens, they're likely to lose a certain amount of political clout, therefore lose funding, therefore lose some of the things which make you all unique. So the kind of things that you could consider as responses to that, slightly upping the game on biodiversity conservation. I know lots of AONBs do that very well already, but slightly improving that. Getting more measurable targets, reporting better on ecosystem services, maybe doing a kind of AONB national report on how you meet international targets. That might seem completely irrelevant for managers on the ground, but for the government it could be really important, could increase your standing, sort of thing the National Association could do. And really provide an idea of what you do as being part of a process. You've got a landscape that's very important. You're building up over time, restoration, better biodiversity conservation, better relationships with local stakeholders, and building a consensus for conservation over time. That could be really exciting. I think looking around at what's happening internationally, there's lots of real opportunities for the kind of AONB model. There's also one specific challenge that you want to make sure you keep your protected area status on the international scene rather than become a slightly sort of less important designation. But lots to play for in the future. Thank you.